Welcome to episode 309 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, a TV series, anime, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, or listen to it, and then we come back here and talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by Kyle Springer.
Good morning, Melissa. I
Good
finally
morning.
got tickets to The Brutalist.
Nice.
Today, 3:30.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So I'm stoked. I'm excited to
Yes.
see a modern movie with an intermission.
Yes.
In it. Interesting.
The
And
intermission's exciting.
I know it's been getting a bunch of awards and stuff. I still don't know exactly what it's about. I've read the synopsis and stuff like that, but I've kind of been sold on the it's big, it's long, it has an intermission.
Yes.
It seems to be way at least being nominated for all this stuff. So I kind of want to go check this out. So I'm stoked. I'm excited.
Nice. I really enjoyed my time with The Brutalist.
Good. How are you? How's your weekend been?
It's been fine. This weekend I am going to see Uncut Gems in theaters again.
There you go.
I saw it in
Still
IMAX
uncut.
last May. I love that movie. I could watch it over and over.
Good stuff. Good. That's fun. That's so awesome. So you also I know we'll talk about it on the Captain's Log next time, but you went to some car show this last weekend. Was that good? Was that fun?
Yeah, it's just every brand brings their latest car models and you just walk around and poke at them and sit in them.
Huh.
It's just a sampler platter.
Interesting. Never
Went
heard
with
of
my
something
parents
like that.
It was very educational. I went with my dad. My dad's a big car nerd. Just doing a little pre-shopping for when I eventually will need to replace my 10-year-old car. I'm just getting ready.
Indeed. Like you kind of have to replace your 10-year-old car. In the movie that we watched for this here episode, they have to kind of replace the sun.
They have to reboot the sun. Sun needs a new battery.
Melissa, what are we talking about this week?
We watched the 2007 sci-fi thriller Sunshine from director Danny Boyle, the third in my unnecessary series Danuary, where I make us spend one episode every January celebrating the work of somebody named Dan.
Indeed. I think that's been a great success. The third annual
There's many Dans.
January. Yeah.
Right. There's still so many we've never hit. DeVito, Danielle Deadweiler. Perhaps we'll see them in the future.
Yeah.
There's many to collect.
What kind of what's the right word? Not permutation, but some different kind of Dan out there that we don't typically think of, right? We think of Danny, Daniel, Danielle, right? But what else is out there? What truly is out there for the Dans?
I worked with a man once named Dan Dina. Maybe we'll encounter a Dan Dina.
There you go. Interesting. So we partly watched this film. This is one that you had recommended to me. I think you watched it a year or two ago and had been like, Kyle, have you seen this? And I was like, no, I don't think so. You were like, you would love it. Please check it out. And I've had it on my list and just hadn't gotten to it yet. And then as we were doing our Rotten Tomatoes movie prediction game for our other podcast, The Captain's Log, you were talking about Danny Boyle, and I was like, I don't think I'm super familiar with his work. I know the name. I know I've heard the name. I just don't really know what he's done. And you were like, well, that seals the deal. This January. Here we go. And
to be fair, I didn't know him very well either until Blank Check did one of their directorial series on him about 2 years ago. I knew a bunch of the names of his movies, but I had no idea it was all the same guy.
Right. I think that's the case with me. At looking at his filmography, I know his work. I haven't necessarily seen a lot of it, but it's like, oh, he's
Yes.
the guy that did Train Spotting. Oh,
Yes.
I've seen 28 Days Later.
Yes.
And then, oh, I've seen that one like weird crime thriller about stealing art called Trance.
Yes. Thank goodness you've seen Trance.
Yeah, that I remember mentioning that on one of our podcasts years ago and being like, Melissa, this movie was awesome. Yeah, it was so good.
These are the films of Danny Boyle: Shallow Grave, Train Spotting, A Life Less Ordinary, The Beach, 28 Days Later, Millions, Sunshine, Academy Award winner Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours, Trance, Steve Jobs, T2, Train Spotting, and Yesterday. And coming this summer, 28 Years Later.
Yeah.
I believe he produced 28 Weeks Later, but did not direct.
I believe so. Yeah. And then there according to Wikipedia, there's a yet to be named 28 something.
Yes. There is a further 28 something sequel directed by Nia DaCosta, who did the last Candyman movie and The Marvels. I want to say that's true.
Yeah, but it has some weird subtitle. It's like the Dragon Palace or some shit like that.
Yeah, 28 years later, Billions of Bones. I don't remember what it is.
Right, yeah, it's some like what is happening here?
I'm going to see if I can find it.
It should be on his Wikipedia like filmography thing, because that's where I saw it. But yeah, it turns out I'm familiar with him by name and have heard of a number of his movies, but still not super versed in Danny Boyle's filmography. Though everything I've liked, or everything I've seen, I've really liked. So I will have to check out more of his stuff for sure.
Yes, 28 years later, The Bone Temple.
Right? Like, what is happening in that universe?
That sounds erotic. I can't wait.
You've heard of Pound Town. Get ready for the Bone Temple. Oh man!
This wasn't just a sampling of Danny Boyle's style, because this is not one of his major films. This is kind of a cult hit. But I thought it would definitely be the most Kyle of all the films.
Yes, and I loved it. I thought this was fantastic.
I'm glad. I think it rules.
Has a pretty stacked cast, which is one of the things, like, thinking about. I don't know if at the time most of these actors were as big as they are now. And so they were kind of, I don't necessarily want to say unknowns, but lesser known. So it's easier to get some of them. But with Chris Evans and Cillian Murphy and Hiroyuki Sanada, is that how you say his name? Is that right?
Yeah.
From Shogun.
This is okay. Right. So many of these actors have gone on to incredible acclaim since the release of this movie. Yeah. Sunshine both feels exactly 2007 and like it's coming out this summer. It feels weirdly prescient. Yes, it stars Academy Award winner Cillian Murphy, Academy Award winner Michelle Yeoh, Rose Byrne, Chris Evans, Cliff Curtis, Benedict Wong, Emmy Award winner Hiroyuki Sanada, Troy Garrity, and Mark Strong.
Yeah, wild. Just incredible cast. But yeah, this is a sci-fi movie that is right up my alley. It is fairly hard sci-fi. They do try and take things as realistically as possible, at least on face value. But it has a thriller side to it. Stuff keeps going wrong. There's something that happens later in the film that does feel kind of weird and strange and out there, especially in the way it's depicted. but even that is not as out there as you think it is. I feel like I don't know, but there's some interesting visual techniques that they're employing in this film when those later things happen that just kind of makes this movie interesting to watch. If nothing else, which I don't think that's the only good thing going for it. But if you're looking at this in just visuals, it's interesting.
Yes.
So I had a great time with this one here.
Wonderful.
Indeed. Do you want to give a plot synopsis?
Yes. The movie Sunshine is about a future where the sun is burning out. And this spaceship crew is sent up there with a nuclear bomb to throw into the sun to reignite the sun.
Yeah.
And they are the second crew to do this. The first crew failed mysteriously a couple years ago, never came back, never sent down a distress call. They have no idea what happened to the crew of the Icarus. But here comes the Icarus 2, the Icarus 2 trying to do it again. And then they hear a distress call from the Icarus years later after everybody was presumed dead. And that throws the nature of their mission into jeopardy.
Yeah.
The nature of their mission to save all of humanity. If they don't throw this bomb into the sun, we're all ice, baby. We are dead.
Yeah. I think it has a really, really strong premise. And just every, 15, 20 minutes, something else happens, something else goes wrong, or there's some interesting dilemma that they have to deal with that, again, just makes it exciting to watch. There's always something. It never feels like it's slow and it's boring and it's prodding along. It's just it's a great watch. Go check it out.
Yeah. Very tense, very good crew dynamics. It is a great bottle movie. All the people I named are pretty much all of the people in the film. You don't really see anybody else.
Yeah, indeed. Not enough good things to say, or all the good things to say about this is what I mean. But it's fairly straightforward. It's fairly simple. So I feel like I'm struggling to be like, there's so much stuff that I could say that is like spoiler heavy.
Yeah, we're going to save it.
I don't necessarily want to say just yet.
I will say, after I rewatched this movie this week, I realized something, and I sent you a message, and I said, when you watch Sunshine, it's not broken. It's supposed to look like that. Don't worry. And
I said, noted. And I had no idea what you meant. And that's going to be the first thing I talk about in spoilers.
Yes, it is.
So, because I'll be honest, I still don't know what you meant exactly. I have options. So now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you also said something about the physical release of this.
I'd mentioned that this movie I don't think it's streaming anywhere. I just straight up bought it on YouTube for like $12, $15. I chose to buy it. I like it that much. This movie did not do well. It kind of flopped on release. It received a cursory Blu-ray release. But this was when it's 2007. So Blu-rays are still relatively new. They're trying to be flashy. They're trying to have all these features. And at the time, picture-in-picture audio commentary was popular, where there'd be a commentary track and a little picture-in-picture playing over the movie with behind-the-scenes information. And something about the printing of the Blu-rays for this movie, they were broken and they're stuck in picture-in-picture mode. And a number of them were like re-released with a fix, but we moved past the physical media. This movie was never that popular. It was like a 20th Century Fox movie, I think. So then it got subsumed by Disney. I want to say, Fox Searchlight. So yeah, it is difficult to get your hands on a good working physical release of this movie.
That's
but I'm
so
hoping
interesting.
it'll get a re-release. I mean, we're talking about how this movie feels so current. Like several of its stars have gone on to win like the highest accolades in their field.
Right, yeah.
Boyle's coming back. We got a big Boyle movie out this summer. This movie was written by Alex Garland. We didn't mention
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Who's also gone on to great success with like Ex Machina and Annihilation and Civil War. There's another Alex Garland movie coming out in 2025. It's relevant. It's never been more relevant. I can very easily see, if they get the rights settled, a good Criterion edition of Sunshine.
Something like that would be fantastic. Yeah. So go check it out, rent it, buy it digitally if you have to. If you can find one of those Blu-ray copies, I think that would be something to hold on to as well. Just a neat like
curio.
Look at this misprint, which is always fun to have of stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I have to say, spoiler free. So I say we get into housekeeping and then do spoilers and stuff. So, all right, we will be right back then. Thank you so much for checking out this podcast. We hope you're enjoying it. If you didn't know, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and a lot of hard work goes into making them, so we would love it if you check them all out. But none of this is possible without your support. Head over to patreon.com/thewhatnauts and you can get access to over 40 hours of exclusive content, including our Patreon first podcast, The Pilots Club, when you sign up at our $3 tier. Of course, there is a free version of the Pilots Club available, but episodes are exclusive to our Patreon for 2 years before they hit the free feeds. If you're interested in buying merch, we have shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more for sale over at thewhatnauts.com/store. Another great way to help us out is by subscribing and leaving a nice rating and review on your podcasting app of choice. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for video versions of the show, trailer reactions, and live streams. And lastly, you can always find out more information about the shows we make on our website, thewhatnauts.com. And we are back. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. It means a ton. We appreciate you. Over on the Pilots Club, this month this year, in fact, is the year of the detective over on the Pilots Club. We thought it would be fun to do an experiment where every pilot episode we watch is some kind of detective show. And for this first month here in January, we released an episode on Columbo, which was a lot of fun. And then looking ahead into February, we're checking out Detective Conan, the anime show. So I think we should have a blast with that. Over on the free version of the Pilots Club, we kicked this year off by releasing our episode on Bird Girl. But in detective fashion, the next one that's coming out in February is Puchinsky. So,
yes, one of the greatest.
For that, yeah, that was a blast. Let's see, right here on the review show, last episode we covered the entirety of the Bourne franchise to date. I think we discovered that there is a new one coming out eventually. It's in development. But yeah, we watched all 5 of the Bourne movies. We've already done things like James Bond and Mission Impossible, so we felt like the Bourne franchise would be perfect for us to do, and we had a blast talking about that. Then over on the Captain's Log, got to catch up with everything that both Melissa and myself were up to over the holiday break, including the mysterious snow stand that appeared outside of Melissa's apartment.
Still unexplained. A mystery as it should be.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It should be. And how both me and my partner have bought a new car. So Stuff like that. And also all of our like medias, how many movies I watched last year, some of Melissa's top tens and things like that. So go check out that over on the Captain's Log. And then for the Reactor Core, there is nothing right now, but Severance Season 2 has started. Yeah. I know Melissa and I do absolutely want to cover that. I'm sure we will talk after we're done recording here about how exactly we want to cover that, if it's week to week or not. We shall see, but keep your eyes peeled for that, because I am excited about that show very much. Cool. I think that's about it for housekeeping. So let's get into some spoilers. Melissa, I said the first thing that I was going to talk about was this mysterious thing of like, it's okay, your movie does that. It's not just you, right?
That's a feature, not a bug.
Exactly. Melissa, I have there was 3 different things I had thought of like, oh, I think it's this, and then something else happened and I was like, oh wait, maybe it's that, and then something else happened. I was like, oh wait, maybe it's that. Now I'm confused. I have no idea.
It was a general statement. If your movie does something weird, just stick with it. Keep going.
So the first thing happens early on in the movie, and this is with Chris Evans' character. Is this what you were talking about?
No, I wasn't thinking of this part.
In the first couple scenes of the movie, he has long hair, and then the scene changes, and he has a buzz cut. No explanation.
Somebody does make a comment about how he needs to cut his hair, and there's the general.
I must have missed that. Then.
Yeah. So I forget who, but somebody does. Like after he beats up Cillian Murphy, they're like, "Boys, calm down, clean up. Go on, we're almost to the sun. It's almost go time. Get your act together." And so he goes back to his military haircut.
Because I must have like looked at my phone for just a second, and I looked back up, and his hair changed. And I was like, whoa, what the hell? Like, what is going on here? And then I'm like, okay, 2007, Iron Man was 2006. So, right, like, right, that was 2006. So I was like, okay, maybe he's gearing up for Captain America. Like, they already had him cut his hair to do that. I don't know. I was just like, and it was bothering me enough that I went back to try and figure out when it happened.
Somebody says it. I don't, like Rose Byrne or Michelle Yeoh. Somebody says
it. They
get your act together.
Or if they did, I did not take that to mean like cut your hair. Right, cut your hair, hippie. Right, but like, it just. I saw it and was like, wait, what? No. That's interesting. So I thought that was the thing, and I was like, okay,
a haircut changes.
Here we go.
Don't report it to your service provider. Don't call Prime and say there's the movie's broken. His hair is different. Is the file bad? Send me a new file where his hair is the same.
Because like he has it, and then he does the thing where he drops his wrench in the coolant, but he's wearing a jacket and a hat. You can't see his hair in that. And then in the next scene is the one where they discover the distress call. And so he's sitting there with a buzz cut, like no explanation. Like, did he freeze his hair off? What is happening? I don't understand. What is going on?
This is not what I thought would trip you up about this movie.
That was the first thing. I was like, I know exactly what she's talking about. And then down the road, as they discover the distress signal and decide to take a detour, not to rescue the people, but to take their bomb.
Yes.
They go to this other ship, and they get inside the ship, and immediately as they start stepping into the ship, you get these like almost subliminal flashes of the crew members. And as you see later in this like picture of them in the space station, all in these like Hawaiian shirts and
party
stuff
theme
like
picture.
That. Yeah, but it's so quick that I even tried to use my like Roku TV remote to like pause it on that. I couldn't. But yeah, just kind of one of those things. I was like, not sure if that was supposed to be like, is that like, I knew you had said something about the weird DVD release, Blu-ray release. So I was like, maybe
right,
that
which is why I wanted to warn you. I'm like, this is intentional. This isn't like a weird Easter egg like the secret face hidden in Shrek.
Yeah. But as it keeps happening, then it's like, okay, no, this is an artistic choice here. This is what they meant. And then a third thing. So this is now at the end. They have now discovered that the captain of that other ship is the only survivor, and he's kind of transformed is maybe the word. His skin is kind of burned off. He's maybe gone a little crazy. He's this like religious zealot now.
Yes. They figure out that what happened is the first ship goes up there with their bomb to reignite the sun. The captain of the ship, Pinbacker, develops this obsession with the sun. And he's like, look, the sun is in charge. Who are we to tell the sun what to do? The sun's like a deity to him. He's obsessed with sitting there on the observation deck, just staring at it. And it like just starts burning him. And he loses his mind and he sabotaged the mission. Yeah. He's like, we're not doing anything to the sun. I'm going to let humanity die and I will be the last man alone with God floating out here in space staring at the sun.
Yeah, wild stuff. But whenever they show him, they do that like blurry effect, which is the thing I was talking about earlier. A very interesting effect.
Yes.
But in the final confrontation, in the intensity of everything that is happening, and he's chasing them from one part of the ship to the other, there's a bit where it's Cillian Murphy. There's that last woman alive. I don't remember her name. Yeah.
Their characters all have names also, but
yeah, I don't remember their names at all. But then he chases them into this room that looks like it's this gigantic room where like there's a big cube in the center. I'm not sure how else to describe that, but it's ginormous. This is the bomb room. The bomb is the size of Manhattan. Yeah. They're just in like a big Borg cube, and it's like they're walking around on the surface of the bomb, like they can tinker with it in there while they're flying, I guess, until it's time to launch it. Yeah. And in the intensity of everything that's happening, there is bits that seems like the movie seems to pause or freeze for just a split second. Not enough to be like something going on. Okay, it's just started up again, but like it almost skips a frame or two and just like gets stuck on that one thing. And it happens a couple times. And I was like, is that the thing Melissa was talking about? I don't know. By this point, I was like, well, I don't know if it was his hair or if it was the like the weird. Like, I don't know what's happening at all here. So what is the thing that you were talking about? It was a general statement on the stylistic oddities of this movie, and how it is shot and how it is edited, and how when they encounter burned up religious zealot, how is this man alive, Pinbacker? The cinematography does something where it's like he is such an aberration to science that the camera can't look at him. Yeah.
It's like he's blurry, he's out of focus, he's off to the side, like he has broken the laws of physics in this world and outside of it, and that the camera like cannot capture him, which is, I think there were folks who didn't like it, but I loved it. I've never seen anything like this before or since.
Yeah.
This movie it's hard sci-fi, but it's nearly a horror.
Yes.
And no other horror villain has been so heinous that they simply cannot be seen by human or mechanical
cannot
eyes.
depict him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. I can see how it can be divisive because yes, I did find myself being like, I just kind of want to see him. Right? Like what does he look like?
I heard that from the Blank Check episode about this movie, which I will quote multiple times, that even though you never really see him, they did put Mark Strong through like hours of like very detailed makeup, and that the look of him was inspired by an F1 driver who was burned in a fire.
2007. I mean, it may have been Senna.
I don't remember the name, but I figured you would know.
I think that was around that time. If I'm not sure, but yeah, there have been a couple of fatalities in that. I might have to go check out that episode to see who they said. But yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, this movie does several. There's lots of movies that will have a plot twist, but very few other movies pair a plot twist with a severe stylistic turn as well.
Right.
Where the movie looks completely different, unlike anything you've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it like they are right beside the sun. There's some shots.
Yes.
There's some faraway shots where sometimes you see their ship up against the sun and it is just this tiny like black floating dot. And then there are times where you see the sun from like inside the ship and it is just this like gorgeous fiery mass. And they play a lot with like scale and a sense of awe, right? And so to have this kind of religious break in a character, I think fits. But
yes.
it is this just odd technique that they used to show him when he turned into this monstrosity that I think you put it right. He just kind of breaks every bit of science that they can think of. And so yeah, in the awe of the sun, in the awe of what they're doing scientifically, in the awe of what this small group is just capable of, right? In the midst of that, here is something that is still yet so awe-inspiring in its own way that they don't even know how to reconcile it.
Yes.
Which is interesting to me because biblically, that's kind of how angels are described.
Yeah.
Whenever an angel shows up to a human, they are scared. They're frightened. It is not this like, oh, you've been touched by an angel, like lighthearted moments. It's scary. Like they think that like they're about to die. And so yeah, like I can see this like visually like cannot comprehend what it is exactly I'm seeing or what's happening. I like that idea. That's neat.
Yes.
But yeah, I still like I kind of want to see what it looks like, dude.
Maybe now that I have like seen this movie a couple times and I do own in digital form a good copy of it, I do want one of those original broken Blu-rays. Because it's broken in a way that it only shows you special features. And at this point, that's not a problem. I'll take the one that's only special features. Show me that nasty makeup, please. This is true cosmic horror. What cosmic horror is, as opposed to other forms of horror, is when you see something that is not just scary, it is incomprehensible. Yeah. It is impossible. And typically that takes the form of something gargantuan, something eternal, something like ageless, where like your usual concepts of like time and space do not apply to this thing. And that kind of is what the sun is. It's bigger and older and more immense than you can really calculate in your brain. If you think about the sun too hard, you just want to like go into a ball and like roll underneath your bed. It's too hard. It's too much.
Yeah.
And this movie is like, what if you got to that point and kept staring? You stared into the abyss and the abyss stared back and the abyss was the sun and now you're the sun.
Yeah. Something else that I didn't really think of as I was watching it is the idea that even on this second ship, they're is it the captain guy? I don't remember the one who does like staring.
Yes, it's Cliff Curtis, and his role on the ship is that he is the psychologist, which is part of the irony that this and it I didn't exactly count, but I think the first Icarus mission had a similar crew makeup. Like I don't think there's like the second mission has like that many more people. I don't think it's that different. It's just attempt number 2.
Yeah.
It's like it seems like the mission control on Earth really did set themselves up for success as much as they possibly could with a mission of this importance. Like this current Icarus 2 that we're looking at, it's like 8 people. It's like larger than most space missions that you see. You think of like, what's The Martian, like 5 or 6 people, you know, like it's a little bit of a bigger cast. There's more people for you to bounce off of. It seems a little healthier, you know, like and down to having the psychologist there on board to watch for your mental health, to put you into the hollow room where it's like, it's time for Earth time. And you're in like a simulated forest or a simulated seascape. Like there are images of Earth. There's people around you. You cook meals together. Like they're trying to make it as easy on you mentally and emotionally as they can.
Yeah.
But the sun is something you can't really calculate for. The sun is this wild card variable where Cliff Curtis, the psychologist, who should recognize maybe what's happening, is still out there on that observation deck staring at it. And, you know, and it is starting to damage him. Like, he has to wear sunglasses. His skin starts blistering. And the AI of the computer, which is called Icarus, he's like, Icarus, how much of the sun can you show me? I've been at 2% sun. Can you show me 4? And she's like, if I showed you 4%, you would die. I can show you 3.1% for 30 seconds. And he's like, let's do it.
Do it, yeah.
You remember like the old commercial from the 80s where a guy like turns on his stereo system and it like throws his hair back and his chair is pushed across the room?
Sitting in the big chair.
Right. That's what is happening here, but with
light.
Sunlight. Just with pure sunlight. And he is starting to go mad for it. He's addicted to the sun. Yes.
That was the thing that I was trying to get at, that he is also starting to form this obsession.
It's happening again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not something I thought of as I was watching, or not something I recognized. But yeah, as we're sitting here talking, I was like, oh man, it's happening a second time. This mission wouldn't have happened if they had not gone to get the other stuff. The same fate, which is also I think that also fits in kind of this cosmic horror of it all, of just no matter what happens, the same thing, the same cycle is just going to happen over and over and over, and no one can really understand or explain why.
Yeah, you don't know until you're there. And Cliff Curtis is not yet at the level of obsession that Mark Strong is. Like, Mark Strong wanted to serve the sun by not interfering with it and respecting it as this cosmic force. If it is time for the sun to burn out and die, it will burn out and die. I shall not interfere. Whereas Cliff Curtis just wants to see, he wants to get up in there. He wants to see full sun. Like, he's closer than he's ever been, than like any other human has ever been, and he's still at 2% and 3.1% for 30 seconds. Yeah. And so when Hiroyuki Sanada is out there and the solar flare is going to get him and kill him, Cliff Curtis is on the intercom talking to him, and all he's asking is, what do you see?
Yeah.
What do you see? What is it? What does it look like? And he might not have developed the exact same obsessive pattern that Mark Strong did. He might have just like wanted to go in there. He's just puts on his suit and just starts floating around. Like, I'm just going to go into the sun. I want to be in the middle of it. I want to become one with sun.
Yeah. Which is...
Throw the bomb in anyway. That's just extra sun for me. What's the most sun I can have?
Yeah.
Throw the bomb.
Why, when they do go on that second ship, he is the one that's like, no, I will stay behind. Like, that's in his mind, that's his reasoning of, if I stay behind, I can then be truly enveloped by the sun, like I want to be. He's obsessed in a different way. He does not want to be with the sun and block everyone else from it. He wants to be enveloped by it.
Yeah.
And which is what his fate is at the end there.
This is also like a horror movie in that it's got really specific, poignant kills. Not deaths, but kills. Where every person who dies in an artful, specific, story-propelling way. I think the story was framed...
But the sun is the murderer.
Right. That's how they framed the story when they were creating it. A sun slasher. And to have his death be something he volunteers for and something that he's like admitting that he wants. He's like, I want the sun to kill me. That's how I want to go out. I kind of relish that I've now been given the opportunity to be killed by the sun. I'll take it. I'm happy.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing about that film for sure. You already mentioned the way the one guy gets burned up fixing the panel. I loved that big like shield thing that they had. I've seen similar things in other kind of sci-fi stuff out there. I think more commonly though, I see like a weaponized mirror of like, let's like shine this big satellite dish made of entirely mirrors, at a planet, and the sun will bounce off and burn them all like ants and stuff like that, right? So to see this big giant like heat shield, I think was really neat. And Cillian Murphy just barely gets over the side of that thing, which is kind of wild. Man, I think one of the things that I was just like, oh fuck, man, was when I think as they are fixing that, and the explosion happens inside their oxygen plant garden thing there, just like, that's gonna hurt, that's gonna sting, like that's not good.
Yeah, and they don't know right away that that's happening. Like the computer doesn't alert them for a couple minutes, so by the time they realize it, it's already gone. They can't do anything. After this week plus of the California wildfires, which have really been on my mind, this destroyed me. Just Michelle Yeoh crying as the garden burns. And then later when she finds that single little sprout among the ashes, I meant it in several ways.
Yeah.
How current this movie feels.
Now, I have a question on Michelle Yeoh's character and her death. So she does not die until much later in the film when the monster is hunting them all down. She goes back into that garden and finds like one single like little sprout and is just like, yes, like we can make something of this, we will survive, or at least be able to last a little bit longer if we can get this one thing propagated and growing and stuff like that. And that's when she gets stabbed in the back there, and she falls over and dies. But when, I'm not sure, I don't remember who it was then that rediscovered her in that, she's sitting up cross-legged with the plant like in her hands, and her head is like bent forward over. So she was posed by the monster then, right?
Monster. No. Pinbacker came and stabbed her. Right. And I think she just like with her last remaining life kind of cradled herself around the plant. I think she did that with everything she had left.
But she fell over and was like laying down on her side dead, I thought.
I don't think Pinbacker, this isn't Hannibal. He doesn't, I don't think he has that much artistry with his deaths. He just wants to kill people and stare at the sun and be a sun man.
I agree with that. But also, yeah, I mean, I guess she could have been mostly knocked out and dead enough and then just had enough power to hold this one thing. But I don't, that it just felt like it is a nice, excuse me, it's a nice looking shot of her with that thing. It's beautiful, but also, did she do that? Was she posed? Does her holding it, is that meant to signify to the other surviving crew members that they have something? Or did she end up killing them when she took the plant out? And right, like
No, I think that's just her dying breath. She cradles the plant.
Okay. I'll stick with that then, because I feel like I'm looking a little too hard at it. But
you're picking up on some weird things in this movie.
Look, I'm just, his hair means something, okay, Melissa? The haircut means something.
This is some of Chris Evans's finest work ever.
Great stuff.
He's an actor I enjoy. He's so locked in this role. I like that he is this very sort of blunt, brash character, but he's
a bit of an asshole, but he's not the most asshole.
Right. And he's right. He's always got like the interest of the mission at heart. Like when they get the distress call from the Icarus One, and they think, what are the chances anybody's still alive? Is it worth stopping to go and investigate? Like, maybe we can save survivors. Maybe we can find out what went wrong. And ultimately, the decision goes to Cillian Murphy, who is, surprisingly, again, the nuclear scientist. He's just Oppenheimer here, too, basically. And he and Chris Evans had an altercation earlier in the movie where, as the ship goes farther, as it gets closer to the sun, they're going to pass through like a radio field or something. They're not going to be able to get messages back to Earth anymore. So they're like, time to send your final messages back to Earth. Final for now until we come back around this way, or maybe final ever if we fail. Like, everybody kind of knows this might not necessarily be something I come back from. Yeah. Right. And Chris Evans gets in a fight with him because Cillian Murphy was like in the video pod room sending a message home to his family. And then Chris Evans couldn't get in there because before the time ran out.
Too long, yeah.
And it seems like all he wanted was like to send a message home to his family. And it seems like it was his fault, Chris Evans's fault. Like, he says something like, we've been here floating in space next to the sun for so long. He's like, he's got COVID brain. He's like, I don't know what time is anymore. He's like, I lost track of time getting here to the pod, to the video room after you told me to come down here. He's like, it was my fault ultimately. I just don't, like, he doesn't really have a grasp on things anymore, you know? Not in a space madness way, but like I said, like when COVID locked out, when we were all in lockdown and you're like,
he's just
when was the last time I saw that person? 5 years ago? 5 months ago? You know, exactly. Like, you've got nothing to attach any sense of time scale to anymore.
Yeah.
And he knows, Chris Evans knows, we are all expendable except for Cillian Murphy. He's the guy who has to drop the bomb, and the bomb's the number one priority. So even if I'm mad at him, practicality takes the first position here. He has to be the one to make the decision about whether or not we stop and investigate the Icarus One.
Yeah.
And the conclusion Cillian Murphy comes to is we are humanity's last hope. The only thing better than being last hope is having two last hopes. So in case something goes wrong with my bomb, let's go to the Icarus One and get their bomb as a backup.
Yeah.
And that's why they go. And Chris Evans was against it. But up until the point where he's like, I'm against it, but it's not my decision to make. And on both counts, he's right. Like, we should have listened to Chris Evans and not gone to the Icarus One, because otherwise everything would have gone off without a hitch. They never need to use the Icarus One's bomb. Cillian's bomb works just fine. And he is right that Cillian should be the one to make the decision, though, also. Yeah. Like, that's unique to have the character who is, if not an asshole, the asshole of the cast, but also you're like, I don't disagree with him. Like, he has points. He makes sense.
Absolutely.
He has the right priorities. He just has a bad attitude about it.
Absolutely. And that's I think for someone like me who grew up with Chris Evans being Johnny Storm, who is arguably an asshole, right? But more prevalently, him being Captain America, right?
Yeah.
This Boy Scout who just wants to do the right thing. He's nice. He's the good old red-blooded American male, right? To see him be in roles where he's kind of an asshole, I think is fascinating.
He's good at it.
He's great. Yeah, from
Knives Out, Scott
right, where
Pilgrim.
He's the charming asshole. Yeah, to Scott Pilgrim, where he's the like douchebag cool ex. And
right.
in this, where he's an asshole, but damn it, he's right.
Yeah.
And it's just, he's just doing so good in all of these scenes. It's fun to watch him like that, because I still don't think of him as, I mean, he is an actor that has range and can do all of this stuff. Don't get me wrong. Also, go check out Defending Jacob on Apple TV. Fantastic. But yeah, I still just don't see him as that. And so when he is, I'm just like, damn, he's good. Like, he's good at this, man.
He's very good.
Like, yeah.
And when they go to the Icarus One and something's like Pinbacker steals one of their space suits to like go back over to the Icarus 2, I think. So then it's 4 of them and they have to get back onto the Icarus 2, but there's only one suit. It is Chris Evans who's like, Cillian gets the suit. He's the most important. I'm not happy about it, but I know that's the right thing to do. Yeah. And then you have the communications officer who...
It's like, no, I'm in charge. It's me.
He's like, now that Hiroyuki Sanada is dead, I'm the captain now. And they're like, you do communications and we cannot communicate with anybody. So like, you're expendable. You might outrank us, but you're also expendable at this stage of the mission. And when they put Cillian in the suit and the rest of them just like peel the like space blanket lining off of the ship and like wrap themselves up in it like Halloween mummies. And they're like, we're just going to cling to him like little baby opossums, and he'll like jettison into the airlock on the other ship. And we just got to be wrapped up like baked potatoes and hope we make it out there. Yeah. I love that. Again, this is stuff you don't see much. Show me somebody improvising being out in space without a full spacesuit and making it work and surviving. You've got one example of each where Chris Evans makes it through. He's just a little frostbitten. And Troy Garrity just like bounces off the wrong thing and shatters into a million pieces in the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
Bye. And Cliff Curtis stays behind to get eaten by the sun.
Indeed. I did like Chris Evans' character's death as the AI is kind of shut down, and the servers, which need to constantly be in this coolant liquid, they have come out, they're overheating. There's no way to get them back in there unless someone goes in the coolant to reach this one thing, and Chris Evans has to go in with like pants and a t-shirt on, and he's just like, fuck it, man, like I have to go.
And they had set it up earlier. This movie is so economical about setup and payoff, setup and payoff. Nothing comes out of nowhere. So earlier in the movie, he's working on that thing. He drops a wrench. He like picks it up out of the water real quick without thinking. And like, his hand is frozen. Not like frozen, but like, oh, he is injured. He is uncomfortable. Like that thing's going to have blisters. And so then the stakes when he has to jump in there full bodied and actually do a work, actually reassemble the thing.
And then
and it's the sacrifice he has to make. Yeah. I like how often the dilemma is you're going to have to do this manually. Like that's what happens time after time. Like, well, you have to put on the spacesuits and go repair the shield. You have to, Cliff Curtis, you got to jettison us from one ship to the other. Chris Evans, you have to go down into the coolant liquid. Yeah. Like time after time, and it doesn't get old. It isn't like, we've heard that. What other tricks does the movie have up its sleeve? It works every time.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same conceit, but it's different scenarios and different things they have to do manually to make that happen.
And there's the conflict set up by Benedict Wong's character, where he is like the mathematician, like the navigator, the guy like plotting courses and things like that, it seems. And when they decide we're going to go off course to take a look at the Icarus 1, they need to like manually override their ship's AI, who's just following the same plotted course directly to the sun. And he forgets one variable. He has something off by 1.1 degree of an angle, and that's what causes the ship's shields to be like pointed 1.1 degree wrong. Right, and then the solar flare comes and it burns up the oxygen garden, and they have to go out there and try and repair it, and the captain dies. And we've seen what has happened when you have to do something manually and you miss a fraction of an element, how much you can just doom everybody. And it's something, again, that I haven't really seen in other space movies, where he is so distraught. He is like catatonic, and they spend the rest of the movie, or like they have to make him be catatonic, because they're like, he is going to kill himself out of shame. And at first they're like, well, we don't want that. And then as the situation becomes more dire and the oxygen garden burns up, then they're like, we don't want to kill him, but if he kills himself, that is logistically very helpful. That would allow Cillian Murphy, the person we need to survive. It is such a sticky situation. And we've seen other movies where there is more people in a spaceship than there are resources to survive. And there is the drawing straws, the argumentation about who needs to live, and but there's never been, oh, this person just is going to take care of it themselves and take their own life if we don't watch them.
Yeah.
And the question is, do we let them or not? that is unique.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one for sure. And so, lastly, then, remind me what happens to the other woman that is there with Cillian Murphy at the end. Rose Byrne is there till the end. She goes into like the big bomb room with him because she's pursued there by Penbacker, who's like trying to kill everybody,
trying to like destroy the bomb, just sabotage everything, let the sun burn out as it is. There's that gnarly scene where like she's grabbing at him and his skin just like
rips off his arm.
He's in such a gnarly state. It just comes off.
That was also an interesting scene to me, not because of his skin coming off like a piece of fried chicken, but because he's holding Cillian Murphy up by the neck over the cliff of this bomb, but then when they rip off the skin and fall down, they slide down the side that he was threatening to drop them over, and they stand up. So it's how does gravity work in that place? Because it felt like they went like off
I know
the side, and
I think it's a cube inside a cube. It's a double-walled cube, insulated for protection, and it might be moving or spinning, or like the ship's AI says, like we are so close to the sun, everything is getting so warped.
Out of whack.
Like the natural laws might not apply. I can't predict what's going to happen. So that's what I took it as. Like, oh, too close to sun.
Yeah, it's something like that.
The answer to everything is sun.
It was strange. And I was like, well, they could have artificial gravity in there. But if they do, then one direction has to be up, right? They could also be using centripetal force to create a false gravity, but then they'd be on the outside of, or like on the walls of the container, not on the central like giant square in the middle. So I don't know what was happening there. I just thought it was like weird.
I I didn't think about it too much. If there's a man who should be dead by now and instead he isn't, like he just lives off of sun juice.
No, Melissa, that makes sense.
And he's such a crime against nature that a camera can't look at him. I don't care. I'm like, yeah, the rest of the rules don't apply.
That's possible. I've seen it. It's true.
It happened to my cousin.
Exactly.
It happened to my girlfriend in Canada. The one thing I wish this might be me. This is not a strong suit of myself as a viewer, so I can't put it as a flaw of the movie. I wish I had a little bit better sense of the geography of the ship. But I say that frequently enough about things that I think it's just a me problem. I think I'm just bad at geography.
How long was this movie? What's its runtime? Do we know? 107 minutes. So that's...
Imagine if we didn't know. If nobody knew. It's just a mystery.
Then you wouldn't know. But my point is, or what I'm trying to get at is, like it's like you said, it's an economic movie with what it shows you, right? So yeah, we don't get to know the inside space of the ship all that well. But you also really don't need to know it that much. Not
a major loss.
It's also not a super long movie either. It's under 2 hours. So could they have put an extra 15 minutes in there to give you a better sense of what that ship looks like? Sure.
You don't need it.
But again, you don't need it. So, yeah. I agree with you. I would be interested to know what it looks like, but we just...
And maybe if we were watching this in a theater on the big screen, we would be more immersed and get a better sense of space from that. Just got to pray that somebody puts it in a theater and we get to see it, because we weren't there in 2007. We were there. We were going to movies. We just didn't go to this one. Our loss.
I don't know if I have much else to say on this one.
I want to throw out one more
please.
Fascinating technical thing that this movie does. At the very beginning of the movie, it has the Fox Searchlight logo like playing in reverse. It's a different Fox Searchlight logo. It's mostly the same, but the way the camera moves around that giant monolith that is the Fox logo is different. Where it like goes towards it and then goes over to the side and it looks at that skyline that's behind the Fox monolith that you never really think about. It's like we're in the same space, but the camera is operating completely differently. It's like, yeah, Fox Searchlight. Nope, we're going to turn over here and stare at the sun on the horizon in the Fox landscape.
I like when they do those little like different twists on those logos. That's always fun.
And I love when it's more advanced than just, it's green. We made it green because you're about to watch The Mask or whatever. When it's like, we're going to take this space that you know, but we're going to change where you are in it. We're going to move the angle.
Yeah.
It's like,
or it does something unexpected when like the Paramount statue or whatever starts like beating people up and then goes back into position or something. It's like, oh, that's fun.
Right. Really change it up. Show me the other side of this. When I'm looking at the big, when I was a kid, I thought about that Fox monolith all the time. So I'm like, what is it? Because I've never seen a thing in real life that is like this. Was there something like this once? In like 1928, did somebody in Los Angeles just build the word Fox 20th Century Studios?
Right, yeah.
Was this a thing I could have seen once? Is it purely theoretical? Why have we never made one? How big is it supposed to be? Where is it? I had a lot of questions that will never be answered.
Yeah. I feel like there should be some kind of movie where there are just like these giant monuments out in the middle of nowhere, and it is all of the like it is the mountain with the stars over it. It is the Fox stars, and they just exist in real life, like out there.
Right. I've seen memes like that. Like, due to less air pollution, the Universal Studios logo is now visible, and it's like you're standing on the ground staring up at the back of it.
Oh, look, the DreamWorks fisherman is back
there.
Up there.
He is. There's the boy. I'm looking at the 20th Century Fox logo now. Again, a defunct logo you will not see again. I still can't make sense of it. What is it? Is that a building? Are there rooms inside of it?
It's just this giant monument, right?
I wish I knew. Man, if I could build anything in real life, I just want one of these.
Yeah.
I'd trek across the nation. I'd take a road trip, a pilgrimage, just to see the big logo.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, yeah. Should we get on to our bingo?
Yeah.
Let's see. That's not what I need. Let me go to our hard drive and pull up bingo. Where did bingo go? There it is.
Bingo. Yes. Every year, Kyle and I individually make bingo sheets of different movie tropes that we may encounter throughout the year of our watching stuff.
Indeed. Sorry, I am pulling up our bingo cards right now, so they are on screen. All right. Let's see. What kind of stuff did we get here? It could. I have one that we could get. Golden Hour.
Yeah, this movie is completely golden hour. I love what it does with color, that it's so cold in the spaceship. And then it really makes the most of the movie being named Sunshine and they're right next to the sun. It's permanent golden hour. That's what I did to my lights here in my room. I'm like, let me immerse myself in the golden hour as well.
Yeah. Let's see here. How do you feel about literary illusion? since the ship is named Icarus. That's, I guess,
sure.
mythological. I don't know if you.
Somebody wrote it down. Mythology is literature. Somebody wrote it down once.
Okay, so I got that one then.
I don't have anything. They put on the spacesuits, but that is not a full suit up montage as I intended it. I was thinking of like Men in Black, you know?
Yeah, I would still let you count it if you want, because there is them ripping down the stuff, them putting it on, right?
No, that's not a montage. It's just somebody putting on clothes.
Yeah.
Big air quotes around clothes.
Let's see. Mom in an apron. We did not get. Villain with a pet. Yeah. We did not get.
He is the son's pet.
Let's see here.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I don't think I have any other stuff. I think that's it for me.
That's it. This is a slim one.
Yeah. I'm off to a strong lead, though.
With two.
Two
to my zero.
Yeah, so that is our bingo update for right now. We're just getting started, so we have barely anything marked off on our lists. But our review show bingo is always a lot of fun. So, Melissa, let's get to recommendations.
Yes.
For people who enjoyed this movie, what else might they like?
On episode 71 of the review show, we watched Alex Garland's Annihilation, another movie that is, I would call cosmic horror, hard sci-fi with a cosmic horror edge, about staring into something impossible and how it changes you. Yeah. Also features Benedict Wong.
Sure.
On episode 171, we watched Stowaway. Stowaway is a very small movie, I think a Netflix original. It's about a space mission, which I don't remember there being a specific purpose. It's not like they're going to save humanity. I think it's just general research mission to Mars or whatever.
I think there was something they were trying to retrieve or go do, but yeah, it's, I think, a little more general.
Yes. It is a crew of 3 astronauts. And then once they are in space, they realize there is a stowaway. Not a purposeful stowaway. It's just like a NASA tech guy who like was double checking things on the ship, stuff in the mechanics, and like hit his head and fell unconscious and went up there with them. Yeah. And like hours into the voyage, he wakes up and they're like, "Oh no, bud, we can't take you home." Yeah. And we did not plan for the extra oxygen and food for another person. So now what do we do? On episode 305, just a couple months ago, we watched Contact. Robert Zemeckis' Contact, based on the Carl Sagan book. This is very earthbound. It's hard sci-fi, but also a lot of it is like a courtroom drama. It's like people in rooms talking kind of movie, which I never mind. I love a people in rooms talking.
It was still really good.
Yes, yeah, and it's about Jodie Foster looking to the stars, believing there is something more, and then the stars have a message for her. They send something back, and the technical aspects of this is what we have to build. This is how we build it. This is the resources it takes. It's how you pick the person who goes into the thing. It's got a sort of hard practicality to it that is like Sunshine.
Yeah.
Has some weird swings, but nothing as weird as Sunshine. The Martian I just watched for the first time a couple weeks ago. The Martian is great fun. It also has Benedict Wong in it. Guy's got a lot of space movies under his belt.
There you go.
There's a movie called Dark Star. This was John Carpenter's first movie. It was co-written with Dan O'Bannon, who went on to write Alien.
Okay.
So there's a lot of alien DNA in it. This is a tiny, tiny, like micro budget little sci-fi movie about these guys on a space mission that has kind of gone on too long, and they've sort of like burned out a little bit. I've seen clips of it. I've never seen the full thing, but the character Pinbacker gets his name from this movie.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Of course, it really went on to be kind of like a rough draft of what Alien was.
Which is also something I would recommend if you like this. Go watch Alien.
I learned that one of the movies that Danny Boyle had Cillian Murphy watch to get him into the right performance mode for the type of tension that this movie has, he had him watch The Wages of Fear.
Yeah.
Which we've also covered here on the review show. Let me find what episode that was.
Which is something I
254.
254, thank you. Yeah, that is something I thought about while watching this movie. I think when the oxygen plant was on fire and stuff, and they couldn't stop it. The way to stop the fire was to suddenly flood it with oxygen, causing a bigger explosion in hopes it burns itself out faster. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like what the conundrum is in The Wages of Fear. There's this fire that they can't stop, and they need to make a second explosion to consume it and stop it.
The second explosion was to cause such a burst of air that it would snuff the fire out.
Yeah.
Which I wish it worked like that. I wish that there being a bunch of wind in Southern California would stop the fires instead of encouraging them. I wish it all worked like The Wages of Fear, and just 4 sweaty men in slow trucks could save us all.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog where they have to go screw a new light bulb into the sun?
Not particularly. I may have watched it, but it was so long ago that I don't remember.
This was a real Courage the Cowardly Dog, a show where every little segment of an episode is a new, weird, scary misadventure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. I don't know why, but these 2 old farmers and their dog are responsible for screwing a new light bulb into the sun.
And Danny Boyle had them all watch Courage the Cowardly Dog to get them in the right mind space.
This is... Please, Alex Garland, bring Courage the Cowardly Dog to the
Alex
big
Garland's
screen.
Courage the Cowardly Dog? Yes! I would watch that.
Kyle put a pin in this. We're going to come back to this and spend a whole episode of the Captain's Log figuring out who should direct the A24 Courage the Cowardly Dog movie.
Great.
Oh, man. The Lighthouse, another movie about men just being driven mad by a light.
Sure.
And the perils of isolation.
Or by something else.
Light, horny little mermaid statues, all kinds of things.
You know.
And then I just recommend the part in Spider-Man 2 where Alfred Molina says he is the power of the sun in the palm of his hand. Just watch that.
Yeah, there is that scene where he's looking at the sun and like
reaches up
at the explosion. In this one, Cillian Murphy, as the explosion is starting to happen, he's like reaching up, trying to grab it. Which also oddly looks like the scene in Lord of the Rings where Frodo is falling and reaching up for the ring there. Wild.
And like I guess also watch Oppenheimer. Seems kind of obvious, but that one too.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff indeed. I have a couple more recommendations to toss out there. If you want a sci-fi story about people kind of slowly going crazy on a space station, Solaris. Go watch the original Solaris. I don't remember how I liked the more modern one, but I know I really dug the old one, the original one from 1968. It is slow and it is long. It is like 3.5 hours. But it's a brutalist. Right. Yeah. I don't remember if there's an intermission in that one or not. But go check it out. It is just a true slow burn in phenomenal fashion. Weird stuff happening on that one there. If you're also into more hard sci-fi, but want a little bit more kind of, no pun intended, expanding your horizons of locations and stuff like that, go check out the Expanse. I think there's some great hard sci-fi in that where things go wrong and they have to fix it somehow, some way. And they often have to do that manually, right? I loved the Expanse. Go check out that show.
We're putting this on the bingo tropes list for next year. You have to do it manually.
You know what we should do for our bingo tropes in next year too? We should add something that the other host does as we're talking about stuff.
Right. So I have a space that's just Kyle talks about the Expanse.
Right. Yeah. yeah. And then last but not least here, there is a manga I think also got into like made into an anime. This is called Planets, and it's spelled Planets. And this is a hard sci-fi manga in that follows a crew of like space debris cleanup. And that was like when I had watched this was a long time ago now. But that was not something I had thought of about like space and sci-fi, that debris and like all these, and like you see Star Wars and stuff, and they're exploding ships and all of this stuff, but all those parts floating in space are traveling so fast that if just a small little speck of dust hits you in the right way, you're screwed. Like that, your ship loses compression or explodes. And so, yeah, there would be some kind of cleanup crew to like go out there and collect all of that stuff. But yeah, that is much like lower stakes. There is no, but we need to save the sun and save humanity. It's just it's a lot smaller stakes, but still something I had not thought about. So if you want some more hard sci-fi, go check out Planets. There you go. Well, that's it for recommendations. So let's get on to what we will be talking about next on the show.
We hope you like space.
Yeah,
it's more space.
Yeah, if you were hoping that we'd ground things a little bit more, bring it back to Earth, that's not happening. We are sticking out in space. Melissa, what are we talking about?
On our next episode, we will be watching the first 2 seasons of the Apple TV Plus show For All Mankind. And then, in the next episode after that, we're going to watch the next 2 seasons. So all of February, we're going to cover the entirety of For All Mankind. This is a 4-season show. I don't know if it's concluded. I don't know if 4 seasons is all there is or if more is coming down the pipeline.
Either.
We haven't seen it before. This will be a new journey for all of us. I've heard good things about the show. I've heard that it is a show that takes its time. It's a slow burn, but it's very rewarding. So that's why we are choosing to watch the entirety of it.
Yeah.
Because it feels like to watch any less, we'd really be missing something. This is a show, this is an alternate history show about what if the Soviet Union beat the United States to the moon. And because of that, the space race never ended. There was always a back and forth, a game of one-upsmanship. Yeah. What if the space race remained America's priority for years to come? How would that be different? So it's another grounded, less hard sci-fi, maybe more speculative fiction of a show.
Sure, yeah. yeah, I've also heard some great things about it. Cannot wait to dive into this because it has been on my list for a little bit. And I'm excited to check out this show and cover it over 2 episodes. So it'll be good. Should be a lot of fun. That is on Apple TV. If you guys did not know, we're kind of taking advantage of the fact that we both have our Apple TV subscriptions back on right now since Severance is back. Silo season 2 just had its finale the other day. That was also phenomenal. But yeah, more Apple TV stuff. So here we go, launching out into space yet again.
Yes.
Good stuff. Okay, that wraps up our show. So, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
Just send me an email. Who has the time or patience for social media anymore? But we all have an email address, and you can write to me at yourhostmelissa@gmail.com.
You know what I should have done right there? Is asked you where they could find you, then hit the button to end the show that I do. And when you do your thing and there's no time left for me, get mad and start a fight, just like in Sunshine. Like, now I can't say my social media.
I thank you for casting me as the Cillian Murphy of the show. It's a real honor.
Yeah, and I'm the asshole. Anyways, if you guys want to get in contact with me, I am at Yo Kyle Springer. And if you guys would like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts official on Threads. We are at thewhatnauts.com on Blue Sky. If you guys would like to check out more of our YouTube videos, they are over there on that side of the screen. That would also help us out a bunch. But yeah, this has been episode 309 of the Whatnauts Review Show. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.